Here's the next one. Responsible. Responsible.
Ecological.
Love. Ecological. Ecological. Respect. Respect. Respectful. Creative. Creative. Web of life. Creative. Web of life. Searchers. Searchers. That it? Easy going. Thinkers. Nurturer. Nurturer. Compassionate.
Humanism.
Thinkers. Sorry.
Mavericks. Such an overused word.
Need a bigger billboard.
Another one? Diversify. Diverse. I think diverse is up there. We can spell it a different way though, which would be diverse.
Conservative.
I got that one. Accepting a little company. Open-minded. Open-minded? Collaborative.
Lighthearted.
What was it?
Lighthearted.
Lighthearted.
Inquiring.
Who asked that? More? We have more paper. It's growing up there. Growing. I got it.
Innovative.
Flexible.
Innovative.
Innovative. Innovative. I think the ones I can see. Yeah, I'm flexible. We don't get counted off as spelling it. That would be the easygoing. Educate. Educate. Critical thinker. Critical thinker. Critical thinker. Got one more sheet. Aware. Ineffable. I can spell that.
Our human kiosk is starting to wither here. But as you can see, Unitarian Universalist Orthodoxy is very clear. And now as an exhibition of how unity-driven and how common ideal we are, we'll share announcements.
Poor Kelly, our identity is such a weighty proposition. Back to business, we are an active community, devoted to both inward and outward integrity and growth. This community does require our commitment both of finances and of action. Please support us as generously as you can, both through the offering and through your participation in the activities listed in the bulletin and posted in the lobby opposite the coffee window, also on the screen. And while this is happening, I have a few announcements to share briefly with you.
You see, old Joe lived out in the country. Only other neighbor by him was Hank, and he and Hank had been friends for years. And now that their wives had both passed on, and their children were grown and off living their own lives, they were best friends. Until one day, a little calf showed up on Hank's property, and they got to bickering about whose calf that was. Well, Hank said, "The calf's on my property, Joe. It's my calf." And Joe said, "Well, go darn it there, Hank. Anyone can see the markings on that calf look just like the cow in my pasture. Neither one of these men needed this calf." But they took to arguing, and then they took to not speaking to one another. 2 weeks went on. Not a word. There was a knock at old Joe's door one day. Thought he'd outlasted old Hank. Opened the door, and in walked a young fellow. Had a toolbox with hammers and saws and such. And old Joe, he didn't take to folks right away, but he invited this young guy in and gave him some stew that had been sitting on the stove, and a piece of bread that had been fresh baked that morning, and some home churned butter and jam. And they got to talking, and Joe liked this young fellow. And the young man, he was just looking for work. Any job would do. And so Joe said, "I got a job for you. Got that window there. You see that creek running along the property line there? That wasn't there until a week ago. See, Hank, he took his tractor and his plow and plowed out a thing and undammed the pool up ahead there, and he created that creek to divide our property lines. Well, I'm going to show him. I want you to build a fence the whole property long, and I want it as tall as a man. I don't want to see that man nor his property again." Carpenter said, "I could probably handle this job. If you've got the lumber and the nails, I've got the tools." So old Joe brought the carpenter out to his barn, showed him where the lumber and the nails were, and he needed to run to town to do a few errands, so he just thought he left the guy in good hands and went on his way. When he got back, his eyes nearly popped out of his head and his jaw dropped, because he did not see a fence along his property line. What he saw was a beautiful bridge going over that creek. It had handrails. It was the nicest thing he'd ever seen. And coming across that bridge was Hank. Smile on his face, his hand extended, and he said, "Oh, buddy, I could have never been the one that took this step. Build a bridge like that. Why, I don't want to fight with you anymore." And Joe said, "Keep that calf. It's not my calf. I don't know why I said it was my calf. I knew it wasn't mine to begin with. I just want your friendship back." And they actually hugged, those two old countrymen. They were so glad he passed this. And they looked at that young carpenter and they said, "Why don't you stay for a while? We've got jobs. We can keep you busy for months." And the carpenter said, "Nah." Started packing up his tools. "I gotta move on. I got more bridges to go." So you see, folks, it doesn't take much to build a good argument, but the true test of humanity is whether you can build a good bridge.
Would you please turn in your hymnals to number 347, Gather the Spirit.